So welcome back, Bottle Killers. This is another episode of Bottle Kill TV, and we have a Johnnie Walker Black. We're not doing this for the numbers. We're doing it for you out there, all you 7 of you Bottle Killers. As always, you have the real Bottle Killer. Say hello.
How are we doing, people? Thank you for joining us.
And so what we thought we would do today is there's a couple of special edition Johnnie Walker Blacks that we've managed to acquire over the last year or so, and they're about to get bottle killed. So we thought, let's do an episode, let's do a drink through, and let's see if there's any difference between the regular black and should you pay the extra, potentially £25 in order to get a special edition, an origin edition. So just tell us, what are the origin editions as you understand them from Johnnie Walker?
As I understand them,
Black.
They're your bottles, but there's one's a Highland one, so I guess it's got a bit more of a, when they've tried to create the blend, they've put a bit more of a Highland slant on it, using some of the Highland distilleries, and then my guess would be the Isla one is the same, but with Isla distilleries, maybe going for a slightly smokier composition.
So basically what Diageo have done is they've took the Johnnie Walker Black, which is obviously a blend from all the different Diageo distilleries, and they've done 4 special editions for the 4 regions of Scotland that they have. So they have Isla, they have an Isla origin, they have a Highland origin, they have a Speyside origin, and they have a Lowland origin. So Lowland will be like Cardew.
Yep.
Place like that, Speyside. What Speyside is? Balvenie? Is that?
They don't know about
Dalwhinnie?
No, they've. I want to say Dalwhinnie. I think is just about Highlands, but you've got like Ben Rinnis. I think Blair Athol might be Highlands as well. The Singleton. So.
Oh yeah, Singleton.
There's quite a few, isn't there?
It doesn't actually say what distilleries that they use for it. Obviously, Isla is a little bit easy to imagine. It's going to be Cardew and Lagavulin, or Caila and Lagavulin. So yeah, let's. What we want to do is we want to see can we taste the difference between Johnnie Walker Black, the Highland, and the Isla, and see if the Isla really does have an Isla flavour, the Highland has a Isla flavour, or is it just a fancy label on a bottle?
Yeah. And so what we've done is we poured them before we started the episode, and then we've just marked them, mixed them up a little bit. So Mike might have them in a different order to I do, but what we're going to try and do is when we look at the reveal at the markings, we'll pair them up with the bottles, so we'll see if we got them right. Because I can see straight away the difference between the one here on my right and the one in the middle. The one in the middle is so, that's got to be the Isla.
So you got number 3?
I don't know.
So let's start on this one, number 3, because this is definitely Isla. That's without a doubt Caila on the nose.
Well, yeah. So that's the Isla one.
You got 3, yeah, 3. Yeah. So that's without a doubt. So actually, now we can
just
say.
Knew straight away.
So now we can say, yeah, without a doubt, the nose is definitely different to the Johnnie Walker Black, the Isla edition. If you like Isla, you like that sort of the smoky Isla, Kalila type Isla, then that's got the influence in there. Let's see on the taste. Give it a little wet the whistle.
Well, the only apprehension about starting, because I know this is the Isla, starting with the Isla is like, will it take away from the Highland one?
I've already gone in.
So I'm gonna. That's quite mellow.
Interesting. That's.
There's not much difference between these two.
That's got more of a honeyed thing. So I'm thinking this is the Highland. Number 2. It's got more. The one you're smelling now, it's very honeyed, isn't it?
On the nose, and then.
So this is kind of like a.
Yeah, because I'm not getting a huge amount of smoke off either of them. Maybe it's just because the Isla's just like. So.
I'm getting the smoke off this one. So okay. So what we'll do is, I think that we go on the intention of number 1 is Johnnie Walker Double Black, and number 2 is the Highland. So let's go with the Highland first, because this seems to be the honeyest and the least smoky of the 3. And I'm not getting any smoke on this.
Not much at all, is there? Slightly, I think, in the finish.
So they've actually made these a little bit more ABV, because obviously some people don't like the Johnnie Walker Black is just a standard 40 as most of the Johnnie Walker range. Even the Johnnie Walker Blue, I believe, is 40%. Right?
I think, yeah.
So they made these 42%. So they cranked it up a little bit, they haven't spoiled us, but 42. So it's a little bit stronger than you would usually get from a Johnnie Walker Black, but it's still very, very mellow dram. It's still very soft, still very neutered in its power.
Pretty pleasant though, isn't it?
It's a lovely little sipper.
When you think of what the Highlands represents, which is usually kind of more easy drinking, quite smooth, you get a lot of those honey notes, quite floral. There is a lot of that. I do get a little sort of undercurrent of smoke coming through just towards the end and in the finish. So it is there, but it's definitely more toned down, isn't it? With a lot of those apple orchard fruit characteristics kind of coming to the floor.
That's lovely. I'd say that Johnnie Walker Black must be maybe the most popular whiskey in the world.
Possibly, yeah.
You see it everywhere. There's nowhere you can go. I've been in the world, or Johnnie Walker Red sometimes, but I kind of go to nicer places. It's usually Johnnie Walker Black that they have, and so people must love it. People must enjoy drinking it, and this is a really good expression of it, actually. Yeah, this is really tasty.
Well, it is. Like I usually have a few bottles of Johnnie Walker in. So at the moment, I've got the double black here, and I've got a bottle of the green label. But the reason why the standard black label isn't there is because every time when you have a party, it's always the bottle that gets bottle killed.
Yeah,
like, everybody always reaches for it, and like even, people that you wouldn't normally sort of think that like smoky whiskey, every time, the Johnnie Walker Black label is always the one.
So this is really, really lovely, really sweet, but it's got no finish on it. So that's probably maybe the lower ABV. Or the lower in the complexity. We've had some really complex whiskeys the last couple of weeks, and so it's very sort of John Doe sort of whiskey, but it's still 12 years old, Johnnie Walker Black, so it's no mug. It's not rough and ready like the a lot of the bottom shelf whiskeys, or whatever you want to call them.
Or red label.
Well, people, it's red label is interesting because I've seen so many whiskey channels do blind Johnnie Walker tastings, and they've got all of them apart from blue red label and red label, and they've psyched themselves out and got them mixed up. Yeah. And so Johnnie Walker Red can't be that bad. I've not drunk enough of it to really know, but I'd be really surprised this isn't a Highland. This is really just a smooth, elegant dram. So let's move on to the. Do you want to go double black or I'd go the Islay one first.
Okay.
Just because it's a 12-year-old Johnnie Walker Black, and this is the Islay origin. So you've got two choices if you're Diageo and you're making the blend of the Islay origin, and you want to make it more Islay influenced. You got the Kaila distillery, which I think is where they probably have they send most of their stuff, their spirit for Johnnie Walker whiskies, and then you got Lagavulin, of course, as well, which is a lot more of a blue chip. Is that the right word? Like a blue chip distillery in their portfolio.
What do you mean by that?
I say blue chip as in it's one of the premium distilleries. It's one that people really have fanfare for Lagavulin, the Lagavulin 16, one of the most popular Islay, if not the most popular Islay single malt.
It is. A lot of people really enjoy Lagavulin, myself included. And I think that a lot of Kalila goes into a lot of the normal kind of, red label, black label, blue label, green label, etc. So my guess here would be that if they're wanting to pep it up a little bit and make it more Islay, and I do sort of get this, is it's got those more earthy, meaty kind of notes that I would associate with a Lagavulin, and also the nose is pretty medicinal again. So the contrast between the Highland one and the Islay one, unmistakable. But because I'm getting more of that medicinal peat and those earthy, kind of meaty, savoury type of notes in the palate, I'd.
So maybe this is actually unmistakably Islay. So it's a good gateway. So if you've been Johnnie Walker Black in, and that's kind of your thing, then this is actually a good little bridge over to Islay. This is like the ferry over to Islay. If you want to start to try some of the Lagavulin and get into more of the peated whiskies, because you've heard peated whiskey is out there, and you know it's a acquired taste, which it can be for a lot of people. This is a good little bridge because it's not too tough. You still got the softness of the Johnnie Walker Black, but like you said, it has got that meatiness. I like that. There's a good description of it.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? With the blends, they are designed to be more approachable, perhaps for people that are just getting into whiskey, or maybe they don't feel that their palate is quite acclimatized for higher ABV cask strengths. Maybe they find it a bit burny or intimidating, even in some respects. So you get these are 43%. You get a sort of lower, approachable dram. It's designed, the blend is designed to be a sippable whiskey, and I think that's why they're right at the top, Johnnie Walker, because they nail it. Like they've been one of the originators of the blended whiskey. So
this has a longer finish than that one. So this one you would drink it a lot quicker because it doesn't have much of a finish. Whereas there is actually quite a satisfying finish that lingers on there, and so it's one that you wouldn't necessarily drink it as quick as you would have with a Johnnie Walker.
No,
and most people drink Johnnie Walker with ice as well. I think that even though it's a 12-year-old, most people are buying it when they're out with getting ice in it. Right?
This is true.
Whereas we're not drinking it with ice, so maybe that's why it's actually holding up way better than maybe somebody would think.
It's a solid dram. I like that. And how much do these ones go for? Have we covered that?
So I paid 33, I think, for this.
Okay.
But I did see it on Amazon recently on like a spring deal or something. I think I saw it as cheap as £26 or £27. I paid 40, either 42 or 47 at Princes Street in Edinburgh for this. So this was a lot more.
Tourist trap though. So it's always going to be more expensive.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't think I've seen this on Amazon, but you regularly see this on Amazon on sale. So it's readily available still. So it says limited edition Origin series, but there seems to be enough about of them in Amazon's warehouse that they're discounting it regularly, and it never seems to go out of stock either.
I mean, you can't go wrong, can you? 12-year-old age statement. Nice. Obviously, it's been designed to come across as a kind of a more, maybe like a gateway type Islay whiskey. I think it ticks a lot of the boxes. I would definitely pay £26 for that, no question. I think Double Black is probably about the same kind of price. You usually get in it.
If you get it in Costco,
20,
if you can get it in 20 that price, 28 in Costco, I think it is.
So I think still got a bit left. Let's try the Double Black and see how that stacks up versus the Islay. So for anybody that doesn't know, Double Black is designed to be a slightly, more smoky, slightly more intense version of the Black Label. So it'll be interesting here to see, is the smokiness lost kind of in the aftermath of the Islay Origin series?
I think it's nowhere near as smooth as the other two. It's a lot more spicy.
It feels like I get more grain. When you get that kind of the grain of a blend. Yeah, and that's fine.
So it's got no age statement on this, does it?
No, I don't think so.
So one would assume that not only have they used some more charred casks to give it that smokier, darker personality, they've also used maybe some younger grain whiskey in there as well to mix it up.
And it's only 40%, and it definitely doesn't carry as much flavour. It's only a slight sort of difference in the ABV, but it does come across as thin, and again, almost like the first one, the finish is kind of just gone instantly.
It's really interesting because I would usually say Double Black is a great dram and I recommend it. And you said at your parties, people bottle kill this straight away. Is what they go for.
The Black Label is the one. Yeah, I mean,
but this is next to these two. It doesn't hold a candle. I would go for this, the Islay Origin over the Double Black any day.
Oh, definitely.
This is actually a really really good. It's got the sweet meat in there. They say sweet and peat. It's like sweet and meat in this one. That's the delight, and I also like this is like a slightly upgraded Johnnie Walker Black. Mm-hmm. You've got a bit more. You got a bit more on the front end. There's not so much on the finish. Sadly, so it's not. This has got a good length on the finish. This will stick around. This one's a little bit.
It's kind of interesting as well because my two kind of main flavour profiles that I gravitate to is PT and sweet as well. And here we've got, you've got one end of the spectrum with
Really
the
good
Isla
balance.
origin of the peat, but then the Highland origin is definitely a lot more sweetness, a lot of those honey notes, those fruit notes, very kind of delicate. But yeah.
Have you seen they brought out a Johnnie Walker Black Sherry edition as well?
Yeah,
That'd be really interesting to try.
Black Ruby or Ruby Black or something.
Something like that, yeah. But it looks. That's what one I'm definitely gonna give it a go because I've always liked Johnnie Walker Black is the one that I just have in the house. Say it's like I'm having a Saturday night in watching the boxing. It's a nice one just to have in because it's easily replaceable and it's it fills the gap that you need, just like a little dram while you're watching Daniel Dubois beat Anthony Joshua up. Beat him all over Wembley, then Johnnie Walker Black. It just fits that thing when you're by yourself. Not too strong, but tasty and quality. I'm really impressed actually.
Yeah, definitely. Which one? Well, I mean, I think it's probably quite obvious, but if you had to rank them, what would you go?
I'll try this double black again because we've been doing so many reviews today. I don't even think I'll finish that one. I'll say my beans. So number 3 was the it's rubbed off, but number 3 was the Isla.
Yeah.
Number 2 was the Highland, and number 3 was the double black. So for me, it's the standard that we've learned over and over on this channel is that Isla does appear to be our favorite.
It does.
And would you? I imagine that you've given a very similar ranking.
Exactly the same. The Isla origin for me, this one it's a really nice dram. I mean, the next time that I see it on a spring deal or sale, I'll pick up a bottle of that. Just have it in the house and maybe just have it for the next party instead of the double black.
It's got a bit of personality to it. When you do have friends around, you can be like, oh, this is Isla. Remember when we went to Isla?
Yeah.
We remember when I took that trip to Ireland, I told you I came back. This is kind of a really good expression of at the easiest level for people to enjoy. Where people can't be like, the standard of Isla, if you throw someone in the deep end, they're like, oh bloody hell, like, please get this away from me, sort of thing. They won't have that with this. It's a really easy entry. This is good.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like, one of the aims of this episode was we were sort of trying to figure out, like, is it just a gimmick? Is it just Black Label with a different label, essentially? But I would say, credit to the people at Johnnie Walker. Like, it's absolutely not. Like, you can tell this is unmistakably Isla. This has definitely got that Highland profile. Haven't tried any of the others, and both of them are superior drams to the double black. So.
And then remember, they've also got a Speyside origin and a Lowland origin, which, if I see them kicking about now, I might actually be tempted to give them a good...
Keep an eye out, yeah.
Give them a go as well. I was originally going to get the 4, but I haven't seen the Lowland or the Speyside readily available. And in the Princes Street, they had the Speyside in a 1 litre bottle. It was just too much to carry back. Remember running through the train station with like 13 bottles of whiskey and the 4-arm burn?
Yeah.
That was I couldn't that extra like 30 cl could have been the end of me.
My bag was like ripped apart, like when you got the strap and it was like pulling away at the seams because it was just like full of whiskey.
So that's one thing about whiskey tours is every distillery you're so tempted to buy the distillery exclusive or the great dram you've had on the thing, and then you just have one question: is how am I going to get this thing?
How do you get it home?
When I'm tempted by 12 of these bottles. Funny stuff. So okay, great. Well, I think that's the episode. Go to buy Johnnie Walker for me. Johnnie Walker Special Edition Black Label Origin Series Isla Highland. I buy Black Label. Maybe it's just sometimes it's the order of things. Sometimes if you have two good whiskeys and you have a slightly less powerful whiskey behind it, it can kind of throw you a grainier whiskey blend. It can throw you. Like we learnt on the thing when we did the blind whiskey challenge with Rich and Chris.
Yeah,
order's important, isn't it?
Order's important, yeah. And I think like you do get that contrast bias, like because straight away it was obvious just from the nose that which one was the Isla Origins. So it was always going to be being compared to that one and sort of fall in the shadow. So, you know, I've always thought Double Black is a solid whiskey. Again, like you say, I'll have it around the house if I'm just sort of chilling out, you know, relaxing. It's very approachable. It's 40%. You're just going to sit there, pour it. You're not going to wake up like hungover the next day, or it's not going to lead to a 3-week bender. But the origins, like, it's the contrast. It sets it apart, and that's why you do the tastings. Is because, like, you know, you side by side, individually, you might look at this and say it's a nice whiskey, but when you're comparing it to other things, I mean, that's where you get like to figure out what is the standout winner. These two, definite buy.
And you can see it's a nice sipper for the summer as well. So you can see the sun on our arms as we're filming this episode.
It's the sun in my eyes as well.
It's a lovely day. So this is a good one. That and if you buy a whiskey for £26, you don't feel like if you wanted to have a chill glass or drop an ice in it, you're not going to feel too bad about it, even though it's an age statement whiskey. Great. Well, Bottle Killer, you take them out.
Right, well, once again, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time. I've had a good time. Michael, have you had a good time?
It's been a good time.
And we'll see you next time on Bottle Kill TV.